Hey, what's up? This is Dylan with Dylan Talks Tone. Today we're going to talk about capturing sound with an acoustic guitar and how that works. Because in our last video, we talked about how electric guitar pickups work. I mentioned at the beginning of that video that an electric guitar is a lot different than an acoustic guitar. And that is very, very true. And there are many different ways to capture acoustic guitar sound if you want to record in your bedroom, if you want to record in a studio, and everywhere in between. If you stick around to the end of this video, I'm going to show you kind of a crazy over-the-top overkill way that I use my Kemper actually, and a bunch of other stuff. It's a little bit insane. I don't do it very often, but it's fun. Now that being said, I'm not a professional studio, right? That's not the point. The point is that we're going to take very simple stuff that you can just order off of Amazon and you can start to capture sounds. And we need to change the motion of air into electricity. How do we do that? There's a couple of different ways. With a pickup and a guitar, there's a few different ways to do it. Taking, for example, like the K&K Pure Mini, takes the vibration of the top itself. It like sticks to the top, takes the vibration of the top itself, transfers that to electrical energy. The under saddle pickup, like I have in my Breedlove, which I'll grab in a minute to show you this stuff, it's underneath the saddle. That's where it captures the vibration of just more the strings than the whole top. It gives you a different sound. So there's different ways to do this. Now, if we don't have a pickup at all, we still have to capture the energy of the air and convert it to electricity. That's why we have microphones. There's a couple of different kind of microphones. You have a dynamic mic and you have a condenser mic. Condenser mics are used, this has a lot bigger diaphragm, so it's feeling more of the air, if you will. This is a smaller diaphragm. It's a little bit different shape. It has a different pickup pattern. So it might be a little bit narrower to the front. This one has a different pickup pattern. This also has a preamp built into it because it's a condenser microphone, more or less. That's more or less what it is. So this takes 48 volt phantom power, which requires more equipment. So if we were to swap these around by order of simplicity, let's put this one over here and we'll talk about that setup in a minute. We'll talk about this little, very inexpensive microphone. Put a link to it in the description. This is an Audio-Technica microphone, and what's really neat about this is it's got an XLR in, so you can run into any interface that you want, but it also has a USB in. So you can plug this straight into your laptop, use GarageBand or whatever DAW you have, boom, you're making sound. With this one, we need phantom power, so we got to go a little bit crazier with our setup. So here we have a Focusrite 6i6. You can use the more simple one, which is a 2i2, or the little Focusrite Solo will also work. It's got the 48 volt phantom power right there, so it'll power the microphone. And then this will plug into the computer, and you've got this preamp kind of in between. So you've got this, and the computer, kind of rising in complexity. But we will show you the difference in sound with both microphones. So let me go grab the guitar and let's get all this set up. Okay, so we got the microphone set up. I got my little jerry rig set up here because I'm kind of doing this on the fly today. So let's go ahead and hit record. I just got this going into a basic DAW in the computer. So basically we just plug this into the microphone, plug this into the computer. I told the computer that this was the microphone that I was using, and boom, here we go. So here's the thing with miking a guitar. Not only is it the quality of the microphone that matters, but it's also the placement. So as you play, like watch. So playing around with that placement, where you put that is going to be the most important thing to how this all sounds. Now that's just a wire going into a computer, boom, you're recording guitar. So the next step kind of up from there is going to be to introduce an audio interface. That is going to put something like the Focusrite 6i6 or 2i2 or Solo in line, and then we'll be able to use an XLR and maybe hear a little bump in quality. So let's do that. Same microphone, Focusrite 6i6, into the laptop. Let's hit record over here. Everything's basically the same. We just switched from USB to XLR. So there should be a pretty fair bump up in quality from the dynamic with the USB going to an XLR with an interface. Using this preamp and being able to adjust everything, it's a bump up in quality. That being said, it's more stuff. It's more wires, it's more equipment, it's more stuff to buy. The entry level setup with just putting in XLR into here and being able to mic a guitar is pretty sweet. So let's go kind of next level with that condenser mic right over there. All right, so all we did was just switch microphones. So we're going to a large diaphragm condenser. This is one of these neat King Bees. I really like this microphone. It's not expensive. It's actually not that much more expensive than that dynamic. The problem is that you have to buy that stuff too and do all of this. So let's hit record and hear what this thing sounds like. That is pretty sweet. In my headphones, it sounds worlds different than that other microphone. Again, you're stepping up quite a bit here when you're going to a condenser microphone. And like I said, I'm not an expert at all of this. I'm just trying to give you some options going from a very entry-level setup and kind of stepping up. We haven't talked at all about plugging in a pickup and what that sounds like in comparison to a microphone. So I'm gonna go ahead and go get my Kemper and I'm gonna plug it in and I'm gonna show you what crazy sounds like. All right, so basically what we're doing is now we're using the Kemper as pretty much like a direct in. So this is how you would play with a pickup. You just plug the pickup guitar, the guitar with the pickup in it, and you would plug it into, you know, your mixing board or your PA system or whatever you're using, or an acoustic guitar amp, whatever you're using to amplify this signal. I'm actually using my Kemper and I'm going into my computer with my Focusrite, but it gives it a different sound because this is what the pickup sounds like. So one of the things you probably noticed there is that we actually have some effects on there. We have some reverb, we have some compression, but you can also kind of hear the difference in the sound. You don't get as much of like the air because it's literally just the vibration of the top. So the microphone, to me, really is the way to capture an acoustic guitar, but it's so complicated, especially when you're doing it live. So plugging in the guitar like this makes it a whole lot easier. Now this leads me to the next thing, a combination of both, which is kind of over the top, using all the things, but it's really fun. Let me do it. Hang on, be right back. All right, so here is all the things. It sounds huge. So you have the microphone, you have the direct signal from the Kemper adding all the effects, you have it all being summed into your DAW on your computer, which is really cool. The fun part about all this is you can do all of this stuff. You can do everything I just showed you with just one of these that costs, I don't know, about $100, and one of those microphones that's less than $100. You can do all this stuff with much simpler gear. Now, obviously, this is all over-the-top junk because I have it, but the main point that I'm trying to make with all of this is going from the cheapest thing on this list all the way to the Kemper and all of this stuff put together. There are options, and don't think that you have to have a whole recording studio to do any of this stuff. I'm no expert at it. I just know the pieces that I have, and I've figured out creative ways to make the guitar sound good. So just experiment. If all you have is one little USB microphone, if all you have is just your phone with an iRig, doesn't matter. Just sit down with the acoustic guitar, start playing, start experimenting, and come up with some sounds and understand, you know, think about microphone placement, think about how far it is, how close it is, you know, how far it is away, how close it is, where on the guitar you want it, a mix between your pickup in your guitar and the microphone, the type of microphone, all that sort of stuff. So just this video was really more to just to get your imagination going with the amount of stuff that you could do with not very much. So we'll put a link to all this stuff. You know, obviously you don't need to go all in on it all, but we'll put a link to it in the description of this video, all the stuff that we used today. And if you have any questions about it, put it in the comments and maybe we'll zone in on one thing. But from basic to super complicated, not really super complicated, but basic to, you know, more expensive gear, this was a really fun experiment to do. It's something I've been wanting to do kind of back to back for a while. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, do me a favor, put it in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe and like and all that stuff that you do on the YouTubes these days. Thanks for hanging out.